Welcome, everybody. I hope that the technology where you're at is working well. We are excited that Dr. Lowder has agreed to participate with us in this fashion. It's, we're all scrambling a little bit, but this is an innovative leader speaker series, and we're being pretty innovative in capturing the thoughts and the presentation of Dr. Lowder. You guys, I just want to say before we get started how much I appreciate all of your flexibility and your willingness to work with our professors to complete this semester. This is a really interesting period, as you know. So I've taught services marketing over the years, and the product that you produce in education is a combination of what the professor provides and how the students consume that and link back to the professor and helping build that content. So you guys have been great, and I sincerely appreciate it. Today, when we learned that Dr. Lowder was going to be able to present to us, we had probably the most significant response from the community we've had in quite a time. And so I'm excited to have Dr. Lowder here sharing with us today, as well as I'm sure you all are. So the way this is going to work, when you have questions, if you would just post those questions in the chat log, and then when Dr. Lowder completes his conversation with you, Jeremy will relay those questions to our guest. So let me give a quick introduction, and then I'll turn it over to Dr. Lowder. Dr. Lowder is founder and CEO of AMPLOS. He also serves as a sport psychologist for Clemson University Athletic Department, where he works with student athletes, teams, and coaches to improve their performance and to assist them as they deal with the pressures of college athletics and life. Coach Swinney stated, "Milt has done an excellent job in performing his role for our team, and has been an integral part of our success since 2009. In addition to his work at Clemson, Dr. Lowder has worked with several professional athletes as well as leaders and organizations from industries that include healthcare, pharma, apparel, medicine, law, and technology. He also serves as a motivational and keynote speaker for many organizations." So now I'll throw it to Dr. Milt Lowder.
Greg, thank you very much, and thank you for having me. I always get tickled if you've heard me speak before when I'm introduced as Dr. Milt Lowder. I have 3 children. I have a son, Jay, who is now 16, a daughter, McKee, who is 14, and a daughter, Emerson, who is 11. And when Jay was 4 years old, he got in an argument with my nephew, who was also 4, who was saying, "Hey, your dad's not a doctor. He doesn't work at Clemson. He doesn't know the football players." And my son was getting easily offended, so he kind of went back and forth for a little while, and my son conceded the argument by saying, "My dad's a doctor. He just doesn't fix anything." So from the mouths of babes, I give that as a disclaimer before we dive into today's conversation. I think you are being innovative. These are definitely challenging and uncertain times. I appreciate the commitment of all the faculty and staff, all the students at Clemson, for how everyone has responded. And I appreciate the audience today, your commitment to being a lifelong learner and trying to improve and trying to grow. As we kind of go forth with today's conversation, I think it is important to talk a little bit about the situation that we're in response to COVID-19. I just want to encourage you today that there's no right or wrong way to be dealing with this situation. There's no right or wrong emotion or thought that you may be experiencing. In my work as a psychologist, I've had a lot of time, and I say privilege, to work with people who are going through traumatic events. And so I just want you to understand it's really hard to prepare for what you can't predict. And so I want you to give yourself permission to be human, to experience the fear, the anxiety, the uncertainty around what our world is going through and what you may be facing professionally and personally with your health, with the lives of loved ones, with the lives and safety of your family. But I also think it's important to understand that it's okay to continue to invest in you, to use this as an opportunity to grow and reflect and think and prepare, and to help you come out of this better than you were before. And that's my hope for me and my family and for our company and for our time together. But it can be very challenging. A lot of our athletes, a lot of our leaders are challenged with motivating themselves right now to get better. They don't know when their next event is going to take place. They don't know, for many of our leaders, if their job is going to stay intact. And my young son, who's an aspiring young golfer, he went and played golf the other day, and I think he had a rough day. The conditions were tough and the course was tough. And he just texted me. He's like, man, this was tough. I'm like, man, it's great preparation. And his text back to me was, for what? And I think that may be a lot of us today. Like, what are we here for today? Why am I still invested? For what? What is this world going to look like? And so you're still preparing for your education. You're preparing for your career. You're preparing to create the life that you envision. It just may look a little different than what we thought, and it may be a little delayed of what it looks like. So as we understand that I'm going to share my screen here. And please ask questions. As Greg mentioned throughout, you can put those in the chat. I'll try to talk slow enough where you can understand me. But if we look at one thing here, if we go to this quote by Helen Keller, it's one of my favorite quotes. And, she said, character cannot be developed in ease and quiet. Only through pain and suffering can the soul be strengthened, ambition inspired, and success achieved. And so what I want us to think about today is, how can we use this challenging time to get better? How can we use it to grow and invest and to create, as I said, a better version of us? And I think part of this is having the courage to face the brutal truth, but maintain the belief that we're going to come out of this okay, and acting as if you're going to be okay, and acting as if you have what it takes, and acting as if like you're going to be better than you were before. And so our game plan for today and the topics I would like to cover, when I was going back to school and looking back on my career, I envy you today getting the MBA, because I think my ideal career path now, or my education, I would have loved to have received an undergraduate degree in psychology, then my master's in business administration. I would love to have an MBA today, because I think I'm lacking some of those skills that you're developing, and then my PhD in psychology. And so I'm with you in spirit in your education, and I'm thankful and appreciative of what you do. But I want to share, a lot of people ask me in my work with Clemson football, Milt, what are some of the most valuable lessons you've learned? So I just want to frame our conversation today, and then I want to hit these key points in terms of how we're going to think about success. How do we focus on being our best? And then what does it really take to develop a positive mental attitude? And what is the profound impact if I make the choice today to get just a little bit better? How can I find a way to get 1% better today? And so one of the first lessons I've learned just throughout my life, and especially my time with Clemson football and my work right now in the field of performance psychology, are like, better people make better leaders. They make better coaches, they make better players, they make better leaders at work, they make better students, they make better professors. And so our investment is, how can we help you be a better person? How can we help you develop and be the best that you can possibly be? And why is that so important? Because as a leader, people are going to pay more attention than what you do versus what you say. They're going to pay more attention to what you do versus what you say. And so this investment, and as a leader, we tend to spend a lot of our time thinking about other people. How can I help them? Or we think about our business, or we think about our family. And so we want you to start with you, because when you're committed to being your best and you can help others be their best, then collectively we can be our best. And so the lessons that you're trying to learn and your personal investment of you, we believe it can't happen through you if it's not happening within you. And so we really want you to invest in you and help you become a better version of you for the important people in your life, the important things that you do in your life. The second one, I was working with our soccer team. This was after our 2018 national championship run, and the captain in the spring, the captain of our soccer team, after our team meeting said, okay, Milt, 15-0, best team ever. What's the biggest lesson you've learned? And I came up with what John Wooden talked about. He said the strength of the team is a team. And what I mean by that, our defensive line, Christian Wilkins and Austin Bryan and Cleveland Farrell and Dexter Lawrence, they set the standard for the rest of our team that year. They had a commitment of accountability. They had a culture of connection. They had a chemistry that was undenied. And so what that freed up the coaches to do were to coach football. And so when I think about you today and I think about your team and I think about the team that is surrounding me, how is this experience unifying you? How are you using creative ways to stay connected to those that matter most to you? How are you investing in those that are supporting you? And how are you letting others invest in you? So we think about the strength of the team as a team. How are you building your team internally for you and your family? And as you take what the lessons you're learning in this program and you go out into the world again, how are you going to build a team that supports you, believes in you, and is aligned in terms of helping you achieve your vision and purpose? And how are you helping them? The third lesson, and this is something I fully believe in, the same mental skills that make you successful in football make you successful in life. We can just change football to business. We can change football to school. The same mental skills that make you successful in football make you successful in life. And one of the things I truly believe, and I tell our players all the time, if what I teach you only makes you a better football player, then I've completely failed you. And so I want these skills to be available to our players and apply them to the rest of their life, because their athletic career is going to be hopefully a short part of their life and be a great part, but it's going to be a short part of the life. And what I teach, just a brief overview, kind of what I have our players do, we play our best and we play free. So the skills that we're talking about just really stand for focus, relax, engage, and enjoy. And we aren't going to get into those today, but I just want to give you that as information. The other thing, what I learned really of my time as a psychologist and working with Clemson football, working with people like you, is one, who am I to set a limit on what you can accomplish? Who am I to set a limit on your dreams? Who am I to set a limit on what you can do and how you should think and how you should be? And I think about that in my role as a psychologist. I think about that in my role as a husband, as a father, as a friend, as a speaker, as hopefully someone who is an encourager. Like I'm not also in the camp to think I can be anything I want to be. I completely understand that I'm not big into promoting someone's self-esteem, but I am big in promoting someone's confidence and to encourage them to pursue their dreams and their vision and their passion. I think the most important thing, and I think this is what we know to be true, the research is suggesting right now that at the end of our life, we're going to look back and regret the things we didn't do, the steps we didn't take, the risk we didn't engage in, the things we should have said or should have done or what we should have learned. And I think if I look at this moment of time that we're in right now, who knows how long we're going to be in isolation and in quarantine with COVID-19. But what I hope that I don't have any regret at the end of it, that I made decisions to take care of myself and my family, that I made decisions each day to try to get a little bit better, that I made the most of the time I had. So I don't regret looking back going, man, I wish I would have done this, or I wish I wouldn't have spent all my time worrying. And so let's don't set limits on ourselves, and let's don't live life with a regret. Let's make sure we're acting according to what we believe. And then I think truly is having the courage to believe the best is yet to come. And how I like to capture this and speak of this. And in 2016, many of you, if you're in marketing, I know Greg was saying, like, this is a life cycle of a product, or this is a life cycle of a team, or this is the life cycle of you. And so believing the best is yet to come, that may be difficult right now with what we're experiencing and not knowing how long this is going to last, or what the economy is going to look like, or what opportunities will be for me in the marketplace. But what I like to think about with this slide, and this is the first slide I showed our team when we lost the 2016 national championship to Alabama. An unbelievable game, unbelievable moment for our team. It's the first national championship we have played in since 1981. So I kind of laid this slide out, and this is kind of the life cycle for us of a season at Clemson. And so the introduction phase is in January and February and March. We have a new team, same dream. That's the get ready phase. Then over the summer, like in our life, we experience rapid growth. Over the summers, when we really invest in our players to transform their minds and transform their bodies. And so when we kick off that first game of the season, we want to be playing our best football. And we want to have our peak. At some point, all of us are going to hit our peak. And then what we know to be true, there's a slow, steady decline towards the end. And that's the end of our life. That's the end of a season. That's the end of a product. That's the end of our career. But what I told that team, and what we know, if we don't start a new curve, then we're destined to decline. So I said, guys, these were like, I grew up a Clemson fan. My dad went to Clemson. I remember wearing orange overalls at school when we won the national championship in 1981. And this, what you created last year for yourself and for the Clemson family and for all the fans, those were unbelievable memories. Memories are going to last you a lifetime and me a lifetime. But what I know to be true, if we don't keep our dreams greater than our memories, then we aren't going to accomplish what we hope to accomplish. So that's a challenge right now for our world, because many of the people I'm talking to today are looking back of the economy the last 10 years, of the jobs that they had, of the illusion of control and security, and we're believing those were already the good old days. It's something that we do for our young people, that we set them up for failure because we tell them that college is the best time of their life. And it could be a great time, but if it was the best time of my life, I was graduated from Clemson in 1994. How sad is that that was the best time of my life? I think it's relevant for all of us as we continue to age. The research suggests, unfortunately, that the fastest growing rate of people in the United States today that are killing themselves, the population who are killing themselves more than anybody else in the United States today, are men over the age of 55. And people ask me why that is. And the number one answer I can give them, that's a group of people whose memories are greater than their dreams. Because the challenge we all experience is the older we get, the less we dream. In fact, when Jay, my son, was young, he loves sports. He doesn't love school. He's a little bit like me. He said, Dad, I think I've got it figured out. I'm going to play football at Alabama, basketball at Duke, baseball at South Carolina, unfortunately, and golf at Clemson, and then figure out where I'm going to go pro in. And as he's turned into 16, he's realizing those dreams aren't going to come true. And so I want to challenge you today to keep dreaming and keep believing and have the courage to face the brutal truth, but let's maintain the hope that the best is yet to come. And so what this also looks like for you and for our team, like when we hit championship phase here in November, you know, Coach Swinney says they may forget September and October, but they're going to remember November. So we got to find a way to do just a little bit more. And in fact, it's been said that what separates the good from the great is the good does all that's expected, but the greats find a way to do just a little bit more. And if we're honest with ourselves right now, we have to have the courage to be human, to face the brutal truth, to take care of our families, to take care of ourselves. But what might it look like if we find a way to get just a little bit better, to improve ourselves mentally and physically and spiritually and emotionally and relationally and behaviorally, that if I use the time that I have in a very productive and effective way, that I find a way to get just a little bit better. And by doing that, I give other people permission to do the same. And so we got to understand, though, in order to create this meaningful growth, how do we do that? And so I like to start this thinking about the growth process, and it really starts with an awareness. And what that means for me is trying to raise our awareness of who we are and what our purpose is and what our vision is. But the challenging part around awareness, Tasha Urich has done most of the research, and she says the good news that 95% of us claim to have a high level of self-awareness. 95% of us. Unfortunately, the research suggests that only 13% of us do. So there's a huge gap between who we are and who we think we are. In fact, I tell my wife all the time, like the thought of who I am, like that guy, that's a pretty good guy. Who I think I am, but actually who I really am, sometimes I'm not very proud of. And so when you think about your awareness right now in this moment, how are you responding to COVID-19? What are the greatest challenges that you are facing? What's been the most difficult part of this journey, of this process, of this overwhelming and unpredictable and significant event that is affecting our lives on a daily basis? And so that's in the now, that's in the moment. Big picture, I want you to think about awareness. What are your strengths? Peter Drucker said people can only be successful from a position of strength. What are your weaknesses? What are your challenges? I mentioned earlier, what is your vision? It says in Proverbs, where there is no vision, the people will perish. But the question that I really want you to think about and digest and spend some time is, where's that disconnect between who you are and who you want to be? Where's the gap that exists between the person you are and the person you want to be? And so when we ask that question, though, like if we don't learn how to take meaningful action, then we're only going to be more frustrated and discouraged than we were to begin with, because awareness without action leaves me overwhelmed, leaves me discouraged, leaves me frustrated. Knowing I need to do something differently, knowing I should do something differently, knowing I need to take action. That's what's happening with our world today. We're highly aware of the threat that is facing us on a daily basis, and we're a little unsure of the action steps to take. The action step that I really promote as a psychologist, as it says in Proverbs, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. As you think, so you are. But Einstein said the same kind of thinking that creates your problems cannot be the same kind of thinking that creates your solutions. So that means we have to think differently about success. We have to think differently about failure. We have to be able to separate who we are from what we do. We have to think differently about our work and about our purpose and about our vision to create a different result. And then the last piece to creating change and growth that lasts is accountability. Like, I believe greatness is not born in isolation, nor is it born out of selfish ambition. Like, we can only become who we were created to be and who we desire to be with help from others, with accountability. Remember, the strength of the team is a team. So who is investing in you? Who are you allowing yourself to be vulnerable to hold you accountable to who you are and what you want to accomplish? So that's the first type of accountability, is creating a team of people that love you and care about you, to tell you the truth, and that you can be bold and hold yourself accountable, that you're going to let them hold you accountable. The next part is something I tell our team all the time, that the accountability that comes from when you know who you are and what you believe, and you have the courage to act according to what you believe. I tell our team, if you believe you're the best team in the country, then go play like it. Like, if you believe you're the best team in the country, then go play like it, because there's great confidence and freedom and power when we play like we believe. So for you today, like, if you believe you're going to be okay, and you believe you have what it takes, and you believe you're going to make a difference in the lives of others, and you believe like the best is yet to come, then experience the freedom and confidence that comes from that. So what I would love for you to do for our conversation today is think about, okay, what's something that we're talking about? What does this mean? What does it mean to me? And more importantly, how am I going to put one or two things into practice? So my favorite question to ask people, and I love asking these people, whatever age group, whatever interaction. And in fact, it's the first question I asked the Clemson coaches in 2009 at my first team meeting, my first staff meeting. So I want you to think about right now, how do you define success? What is your definition of success? And most of the answers I get are along the lines of, well, it's achieving a goal, or it's being the best you can be, or it's hitting a number, or it's making an A, or it's making a difference. And so in the world that we live in, the performance-based world that we're in, if success is achieving a goal, can we achieve the goal? Can we control the outcome? And that's one of the first questions I asked the coaches. One of the coaches said, well, let's be honest, Milt, that first day in 2009, success is winning. And I said, can you control winning? And he said, yes, you can. And I said, Coach, if you can't control winning, why are you 2 and 3? Because see, we all fall into that trap that we can control the outcome. And so we have to shift our focus away from achieving the goal to this definition of success from John Wooden, where he said success is the peace of mind, which is the direct result of self-satisfaction knowing you did your best to become the best you're capable of becoming. The peace of mind, which is the direct result of self-satisfaction and knowing you did your best to become the best you're capable of becoming. How we've narrowed that down is really success is just the worthy pursuit of a worthy goal. The worthy pursuit of a worthy goal. And so what I want you to determine when that's your definition of success, who gets to define it for you? You do. What are the worthy goals you can pursue? Well, winning is a worthy goal. Making all A's is a worthy goal. Making a difference in the lives of others is a worthy goal. Being financially stable is a worthy goal. Maintaining your health is a worthy goal. Being happy is a worthy goal. But in America, what do we promise? Life, liberty, and what? The pursuit of happiness. It's not guaranteed. And one of the quotes I put in front of our team each week comes from Henry David Thoreau. And he said, success comes to those who are too busy to be looking for it. And so we have a vision, we have a goal, but I get so focused on my process. I get so focused in trying to become the best I'm capable of becoming that success finds me because I'm too busy to be looking for it. So if we start thinking about the worthy pursuit of a worthy goal, then I think it's important to really talk about the difference between goals and expectations. And I created this. A young golfer probably 10 years ago was in my office, and he was feeling a lot of pressure from himself and his dad and his coach to really achieve. And so we sat on the board in my office and we said, okay, what's the difference in a goal and an expectation? And we kind of talked about some of these things, that a goal is something I take ownership of. And we all have expectations of ourselves, but it's usually assumed by other people. A goal is something I think about that provides motivation for me. It's something I can attack. It's something I can pursue. Where an expectation adds pressure and tends to take away my joy. Like the burden of expectations that we experience from ourselves and others takes away our joy, takes away our freedom, and takes away our passion. But listen to the language around the words for a goal. Like if I set a goal, I'm thinking, really, I can accomplish this. I am going to do this. I will. But when we fall victim to expectations, our language is usually around what I need to do, have to do, should do, or can't do. In fact, think about the need to, have to, should do. I tell people all the time to quit shoulding on yourself. Now that is spelled right here, so I know my Southern accent says that inappropriately, but what that means is quit adding that pressure to what you're trying to accomplish, because that only makes it more difficult for you to accomplish your goal. So this young man 10 years ago, as we kind of put together this list, he said, Milt, I guess I can summarize it like this. A goal is something I fail to achieve. At least I can recognize progress. But an expectation is something I fail to meet. It haunts me. That's why it's important for you to take the expectations that have been placed upon you and move those towards worthy goals. So really think about success, really identify your worthy goals, let them align with your vision, and then judge your success by your commitment to your process instead of the outcome. You know, one of the other things I really wanted to talk to you comes from really Jim Collins, Good to Great. I love that book. You guys probably have studied that and read that. And he has these great principles of good to great companies. The one I want to highlight today for you is the story about the hedgehog and the fox. And so if you're looking at this picture, you're going to lay odds of who's going to win this battle, because the story goes, the fox is trotting through the woods one day and he sees the little hedgehog kind of waddling down the path, and the fox makes a decision that he's going to eat the hedgehog and he's going to eat him the next day. So if me, I'm going to bet on the fox because he's sleek and he's cunning and he's fast and he's sly and he's creative and he can do a lot of different things. But the hedgehog, I don't even really know how you describe that creature right there. He's a little prickly, and I had somebody say one time that they think he's cute. And so if you're going to bet, you're going to bet on the fox. So sure enough, the fox shows up the next day, and the hedgehog, he's just a creature of habit. He's a creature of routine. He just does the same thing over and over again. So he wakes up at the same time and he waddles down the path, and the fox jumps out. He says, I've got you now. And the hedgehog, like, he only does one thing, but he does it really well. He just rolls up like a porcupine, and the fox is denied. So the fox goes back to the drawing board and kind of comes with a new strategy, a new game plan, shows up the next day, and sure enough, here's a hedgehog just doing his thing. He jumps out and says, I've got you now. And the hedgehog just rolls up, and day after day it's repeated. The fox is trying a new strategic plan. He's taking a new class. He's trying to get a new degree. He's trying a new technique. He's learning a new skill. But the hedgehog does what he does really well. Because I think leadership and building a great culture is about creating a culture that maximizes strengths and minimizes weaknesses. And so what Jim Collins said, these 3 questions that we try to ask ourselves, like, what can I be the best in the world at? What drives my success or our success? And what am I deeply passionate about? Right? When we can answer these questions, and success finds me because I'm too busy to be looking for it. So this is one of my favorite exercises I do with our football team each year. I narrowed that down. I just had them finish a sentence. I'm at my best when. And maybe you want to write this down right now. Maybe you want to go back and do it later. But I want you to think about, I'm at my best when. What are the variables that are present when you're at your best? So I'll give you an example. Deshaun Watson, I'm at my best when I'm prepared. And so when I knew when he got to Houston and they were wondering whether he was going to get the starting quarterback job and would he be prepared for it, there was no doubt in my mind. And most importantly, there was no doubt in his mind because he's at his best when he's prepared. Coach Swinney said, I'm at my best when I'm uncomfortable, because if you know his story of how he grew up in chaos and dysfunction, like he learned to thrive and rise above that. Christian Wilkins, I think this was so appropriate. I'm at my best when I'm having fun and just doing my job. Like I'm just having fun and doing my job. Hunter Renfro, I'm at my best when I'm constantly thinking of ways to get better and having fun. So how might you finish that sentence for you today? In the midst of this COVID-19, the midst of and it may change right now, because it may be you're at your best when you're at your office, or you're able to go to your gym, or you're able to relax, or you're able to socialize with your friends. So this is something that you have to be able to take ownership of. I'm at my best when. Then, like collectively, I don't know who's on your team right now. Maybe it's your cohort, maybe it's your class, maybe it's your family, maybe it's your work group. Like, when are we at our best? Maybe it's your family. We are at our best when. Like one of the things for Clemson football, we are at our best when we play for 60 minutes or as long as it takes. Clemson basketball, we're at our best when we demonstrate grit. You know, one of my favorite, when my middle daughter was in first grade, her teacher wrote a sentence that said, asked her students to write a sentence with the word quit. And so McKee's sentence was this: Lowders never quit. So for me, like, our family is at our best when we don't quit. We don't give up when it gets difficult, when we persevere. So try to incorporate and put this into practice for you. Hey, when I'm at my best, I can help you be your best. Guess what? We're going to be our best. That's our individual commitment to each other when we all are pursuing worthy goals. And then this is probably the most important, that same meeting, that first moment with Milt in 2009, I asked coaches, okay, how do you define success? And then I gave them this attitude quote by Charles Swindoll. And the whole attitude quote says this: the longer I live, the more I realize the impact of attitude on life. It is more important to me than the past, and education, than success, than failure, than what other people think or say or do. It will make or break a company, a church, a home, a team. The remarkable thing is we have a choice every day regarding the attitude we will embrace for that day. We cannot change our past. We cannot change the inevitable. We cannot change the fact that some people will act in a certain way. The only thing we can do is play on the one string we have, and that is our attitude. I am convinced that life is 10% what happens to me and 9% of how I react to it. And so it is with you. We are in charge of our attitudes. And so I don't know where he got his numbers from in terms of the 10% and 90%, but I know if you're like me, what we're experiencing right now is greater than 10%. You know, for some of us, it may be 20%, 30%, 40%, 49%, where I still have a choice. This may be very difficult to make that choice. But for me, what choice do I have? And whenever, I forgot I had this in there. We're going to try something, Jeremy, see if this video plays real quick. Just let me know if you can hear it. This is Coach Swinney talking to a high school coaching clinic at Clemson last year. Around 900 coaches came in across the country. Did y'all enjoy that?
That's the number one thing that I would say has led to the success of our program. Attitude. Attitude. A positive attitude and mindset no matter what. It's easy to be positive when everything's going good. How you going to do when you just gave up 70 in the first Orange Bowl in 30 years? Or you've lost 5 years in a row to your state rival? Or everybody's telling you what you can't do and how bad you are and blah, 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 and this and that. It's finding the good in everything. Because people are going to find the bad. Just read the news. They'll tell you everything bad. But if you want to know how we built our program, it's finding the good.
And I love that message. And I think it's relevant for football. It's relevant for life. And I think it's even relevant for what we're experiencing right now. Like, it's easy to lead when times are good. It's easy to lead when you've lost 4 games in 4 years. It's easy to lead when everybody has answers and A plus B equals C. And if we do this, we're going to be okay successfully and I'm going to stay healthy. It's easy, but leadership right now is difficult. Like, it's hard to find the good. And so leadership is about stepping in and stepping into what other people are running away from. And so embrace the challenge of leadership right now and understand, when I let go of what I cannot change and focus on what I can, I have a chance to make a difference. I have a chance to get better. And most importantly, I have a chance to instill hope, because hope can go a long way right now. So when I read this quote and I hear that from Coach Swinney, in my mind, I've always thought about, okay, what choices do I have? What are the things in my life I cannot change? And what are the things I can? So the first thing we cannot change, we can't change other people. We can't control other people, what they think, what they say, what they do, what they think about me, what they say about me, what they do to me. In football, how big they are, how strong they are, how fast they are, whether or not they play their best game, whether or not they throw an interception. In the world right now, we can't control whether people stay healthy or not, or whether they social distance, or whether my job is going to be available, or what my financial situation is going to look like in the future. I can't control what other people are doing that has affected my life. The other major item we cannot change is the past. Like, there's not one thing we can do to change what's already happened in our life. And my work as a psychologist, when we focus on the past, we tend to stay depressed. And then definitely right now, we can't control the future. And we're kind of asking ourselves, well, what if life doesn't come back normal? What if I lose my job? What if I get sick? And that creates this anxiety and uncertainty and stress and fear in our life. And so we have to maintain, I've said it over and over again, we have to have the courage to face the things we cannot change. But for me, we got to let go of those. We have to shift our focus away. Remember, awareness of what we cannot change increases our anxiety and frustration and fear. So we got to shift our focus to what we can. So what we can do is our attitude, our actions, our responses, our preparation, our emotions, our decisions. Well, how do we control this? Remember, I said earlier, as a man thinketh in his life, so is he. So your thoughts control how you act and how you feel. But who's perfect in their thought life? Not me, not you. So the main thing we really can control is our effort. Remember, what do we say success is? The peace of mind, which is the direct result in the self-satisfaction, knowing you did your best to become the best you're capable of becoming. The worthy pursuit of a worthy goal. So what I really can control was my commitment to being the best that I can be. Like, that's what we say at Clemson football. We're trying to be the best that we can be. We can't control that. I mean, we're trying to be the best ever by trying to be the best that we can be. So think about you today. There's great freedom when we shift our focus. And in fact, the serenity prayer says it best that they teach at AA. God, grant me the serenity, the peace of mind to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So that's what we want to think about. Like, the wisdom to know the difference is, where do we choose to spend our time? This picture right here is what our players see as they walk into their locker room at Clemson, right? It's not so much who I am, like it's who I desire to be. As you think, so you are. And so Dennis Waitley, one of the goals guru and performance guys way back when, he said the winners in life think in terms of I can, I am, I will. Losers, on the other hand, spend their waking moments thinking what they need to do, have to do, should do, or can't do. Like need to do, have to do, should do, or can't do. And so let me give you a great example. So in 2000, we lost the national championship to Alabama. We go back the very next year and we're playing Alabama in Tampa. We're facing an Alabama team led by Nick Saban, who had never lost a national championship game. We're facing, we're down 14-7 at halftime. When Nick Saban was leading at halftime, his career record is 96-6 at the time. We're down 10 points in the fourth quarter. When Nick Saban had a lead, when his teams had a lead going to the fourth quarter, he was 96-0 with a double-digit lead going to the fourth quarter. He was 106-6 with a lead at halftime. So we go down and score, and Jalen Hurts goes right back down the field and scores to take the lead. And if you're like me and on the sidelines and you're watching the game, you're in the stadium that day, the first thought is, oh, my gosh, I can't believe this is happening again, right? Which leaves you helpless and hopeless, because that's what that word triggers in us. I can't take this. I can't handle this. I can't believe this is happening. There's nothing I can do. It's not going to get any better. We can't win the game. It leaves you helpless and hopeless. Your very next thought is we have to go score. We need to go score, which it just adds pressure to the situation, and it shifts your focus away from what you can control, which is the moment, to the magnitude of the moment. So if we're human and having all these negative thoughts, we're thankful for our quarterback, because the first thing Deshaun Watson said after Jalen Hurts scored is, they left me too much time. Look at the difference. Like, I can't believe this happened, leaves me helpless and hopeless. We have to go score, just adds pressure to me. But the very next thought is, they left me too much time. So what does he do? He gets in the huddle, he gets his team huddled up, and he said, let's go be legendary. Like, that's not letting what you can't do or what you can't control keep you from doing what you can. How relevant is that world today? We're hearing every day more and more what we can't do, or what we need to do, or what we have to do, or what we should do. And we have to pay attention to those, but we want to make sure that doesn't limit what we can do right now. How can we focus on what we can control? How do we redefine success? How can I focus on being the best that I can be? And then for this, how can I find a way to get just a little bit better? And this came from James Clear. I thought I had that reference on here in Atomic Habits. So his research suggests, like, if I make a commitment, this is from January to December, if I made a commitment at the beginning of the year to get just a little bit better, just 1% better each day, by the end of the year, all right, I would be 38% better than I was when I started the year, whatever task, whatever skill, whatever I was trying to create. However, right, if I just stay the same, if I just try, like so much of us when we're under stress, are trying to hold on to what we have, like just trying to hold on to what we have, we don't stay the same, we get worse. Because despite the obstacles, like this innovative series, I love what Greg said at the very beginning, like we want to be innovative. We were created to pursue something. What does it say in Shawshank Redemption? We got to get busy living or get busy dying. So I challenge you today to find a way to get just a little bit better in the important areas of your life, mentally and physically and spiritually and emotionally and relationally. Who knows how long we're going to be in this quarantine, but we can find a way to get a little bit better. And so as we close, I love this quote by Ralph Waldo Emerson. Like, what lies behind us and what lies before us are small matters when compared to what lies within us. And we bring what is within us to the world, miracles can happen. And so that's what we really want to challenge you. I have to forget what's behind. I have to kind of focus on what's ahead. I have to act as if. And I got to find a way to bring the best of me out to this world. So looking back, right, awareness, action, accountability, what did this mean? What did it mean to me? And more importantly, what can I do with this information? And I think it's a constant pursuit of a worthy goal. Because John Wooden had in one of his books I read, had a little poem that's become the theme of my life. And he said, I'm not who I want to be. I'm not who I'm going to be. and I'm not who I should be, but I'm thankful I'm better than I used to be. So thank you for your time. I still think we have a few minutes for questions. I'm going to take this off the screen. Greg, if you want to pop in, I'll kind of read some of these questions that have come in. If you have any questions.
Yeah, let me just say, Milt, how wonderful this message is for the times that we're in. This couldn't have been planned any better. So thank you so much for that. And I'll let you respond to some of the questions.
Okay. Do I accept questions for Ohio State grads? Well, since we played two halves out in Phoenix this year, not the first half, I'll gladly take a question from Ohio State grad. A lot of people are struggling right now. I'm in a pretty good position. What do I do for people that are struggling? And I'm feeling okay right now. What a great question. In this moment there, that for some reason, maybe you're in a situation in a business, an organization where life is good, business is growing, you're making a difference. How do you have empathy for others? Because we don't want to spread this false sense of hope and optimism. And we want to have empathy for others. So Alfred Adler defined empathy as seeing with their eyes, hearing with their ears, and feeling with their heart. But in my work and dealing with people in traumatic events who are going through that, what they hate to hear are two things. One, they hate to hear that you're sorry. For some reason, this just offends them, right? We love to say that in the South, well, I'm so sorry. That bothers people because you didn't create the situation that they're in. And I know what you're trying to do is demonstrate some level of empathy. So try to avoid those words. And then what we love to do in the South is, please let me know if I can do anything for you. And the ones who really make the difference are the ones who show up, the ones who do something without being asked. Now, it's a little bit difficult with the social isolation. And I think giving yourself permission, like you don't have to feel guilty about the situation that you're in if it's going well for you. But how can I think about other people? And how can I walk and act and think in such a way that instills hope in them? So I hope maybe that answers your question. I'm glad things are going well. Here's another question. Book Good to Great. What groups or memberships or training sessions does he recommend so we can continue transforming from good to great? Yeah, I love that. I think that's a great challenge. How do we make this transition? One of my favorite books is by Carol Dweck. Her and DC and Ryan created this achievement goal theory, which she has captured so well as growth mindset. So if you're looking for another book, Mindset is a great book. Training sessions, there is so much out there in terms of online information. I don't really, they're great podcasts to listen to. I don't have a list of those. I probably should do better with that. Do you have any specific things you're doing to improve yourself these days? I've had to make some decisions in my life. I realized, I kind of joked last year after the national championship game 2 years ago, at the end of the game, they give you the 3XL t-shirts, for the players to put on their shoulder pads. And I put it on and it felt like it fit. And so I realized I needed to get back in shape. And so we've kind of created what we call a wellness wheel evaluation in our practice. And so it helps you examine your mental life, your physical life, your spiritual, your emotional, relational, and behavioral. And so one of the things I do is especially with this time right now, my quiet time in the morning, a devotion, some quiet time I have, that's gone from about 20 minutes to about an hour each day. My exercise routine is a little bit out, but I try to read a book of fiction, some type of fiction every night. And this may not be kind of trying to get better, but what I realized in my career is I was going to bed every night and trying to read a book on leadership or peak performance or some type of research article. My brain never shut down about how to get better and how to improve. And I realized as a young child that I loved to read. And so I just started reading books again about 2 or 3 years ago. And so every night at some point, like I'm going to read no matter what time I go to bed. That's been a great way for me to de-stress. I've also made some decisions during this time in terms of my exercise being a little bit different. Alcohol, I don't drink a lot anyway, but there's no alcohol for me right now throughout the week. I'm just trying to be very mindful of the things that help fuel my energy and help me be my best. And I think the other thing is trying to find new ways to stay connected. Is it possible to get this recording? I don't know if this was, I think it was recorded. I'm not quite sure how it's going to be delivered.
Yeah, we'll make sure that the students have access to view this again. I think this would be something that that would be very helpful. So yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Jeremy will make sure that they get that information.
Okay, great. How do you deal with people who try to take your goals and push you down in the process? You know, comparison is the thief of joy, and other people hate to see you do things that they can't do or aren't willing to do. And so when we think about building your team in such a way, who are those that speak life to you? Who are those that encourage you? Who love you enough to tell you the truth, but give you the energy and spirit to pursue your dreams? And so you may have to make some tough decisions. If there's people in your life that are telling you what you can't do, then I would create some boundaries to keep them from being in your life. An example I can give you, I went back to school a little bit later. In fact, my father-in-law used to tease me. He said, "You're the only guy I know that's going to finish school, work for 2 years, and draw Social Security," because it was a long process to get my doctorate. But when I was starting my practice, I started on my postdoc in 2005, and I didn't have a license. And I called 6 psychologists in this community to see if I could rent office space. And all of them said, "You can't do that. You don't have a license. You can't take insurance." And the last one I called, before I found somebody who was willing to share his wisdom with me, the last one I called, I said, "Look, I thought we were in the business to help people do things they didn't think they could do." And I hung up the phone. I've never spoken to him again in 15 years. But I think, you know, I can be stubborn as well. And so part of, I'm kind of going on here on this rant a little bit, but one of my favorite poems is "If." And there's a great line in that poem that says, "If you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too." And so as you're getting that negative feedback, can you make yourself, like when people, like if people are telling me I'm not going to play in the NBA, I should pay attention to that. And so can I make allowance for their doubting too, but can I continue to believe in me and who I surround myself with? Often can stay positive, but people in my life make that difficult. Okay, that's the same kind of question, right? How to handle people we cannot take out of our lives. Yeah, there's some freedom. One of the benefits of working for yourself, you have some freedom to choose a little bit about who you spend your time with. But maybe it's family members, maybe you're in a position, a job that people are holding you back. I think my pride kicks in a little bit to where I've realized I can't control other people, that I don't want them to control me. And so it's creating some behaviors and activities and habits to not let them take away your joy, to not let them steal your joy. And I also think forgiveness is real important. And the best definition of forgiveness I've heard is where that person or that event doesn't control you. So forgiveness is where that person or that event doesn't control you, to where forgiveness releases you from whatever burden. And it doesn't mean forget, because we don't have that capability. In fact, there is something in the Bible that says 70 times 7. And that means every time I remember the pain, every time I'm forced to deal with that difficult person, and I'm pulling that way because my business partner's office is that way. No, I'm just teasing. That I'm making that decision to not let it control me. So that's a good one. This is a really good question. I hope it's a good format. Milt, you have a lot of faith-based quotes and scriptures in today's talk, and I hope that's okay. How did you find your balance in showing your faith in your business? Greg, we okay to tackle that one? Okay. So for me, I struggled. I'm a Christian. I struggled early on. Was I going to be a Christian psychologist, a psychologist who's a Christian? How am I going to interact in something that is really and most important in my life? And so I really prayerfully considered what would be most beneficial to the people in front of me. So my prayer is always in my work, in my life, with my family, that those that maybe have that relationship or share the same faith, hear the message, are encouraged and strengthened, and those that don't, or at least encouraged and inspired by the words that I provide. And so that's how I've kind of integrated both. I tried to have the courage to act according and live according to what I believe in every aspect, but I also try to do it very respectfully. There's an old joke my dad used to tell, which isn't very funny, but he talks about the farmer and the flood. And you probably have heard it, that a flood was coming to the old community and they were evacuating the community, and this old farmer refused to leave. So they drive by in the bus and they're evacuating everybody. And he said, "Hey, don't you worry about me. God's going to take care of me." Well, 3 days later, they come back. The flood river's overtaken the community. He's on the second floor of his house, and they come by in a boat and like, "Get in the boat. It's your last chance." Like, "No, don't you worry about me. God's going to take care of me." And so they finally come back 2 days later. He's hanging onto the chimney. You know, they come in the helicopter and they drop the rope. And he's like, "Don't you worry about me. God's going to take care of me." Well, he dies. And he's not happy about it. So he gets to heaven. He said, "Hey, God, you know, you said those with great faith would be rewarded. And I was very faithful. Where were you?" And God said, "I sent you a bus, a boat, and a helicopter. What more do you want me to do?" And I tell that story because in somebody's life, I'm going to be a bus, I'm going to be a boat, I'm going to be a helicopter, and understanding my role and what role I can play. And so if I'm working with someone as an individual and we don't share the same faith, then it's more about what they believe, and I don't impose that on others. What fictional book would you recommend? I have a wide variety of reading interest, but if you haven't read any of Daniel Silva's book series on Gabriel Allen, he's a Jewish assassin, a little bit of historical fiction. I love that series. That's one of my favorites. What is my current position and how did you get it? We don't have time for that story. My degree from Clemson is actually in agriculture, mechanization, and business. So probably I didn't lead with that because you probably would have hung up. I've got a long, strange career path. I was pretty naive about what the world was like. I grew up on a cotton farm in Sumter, and I grew up knowing farming. My older brother's a physician and knew he was going to do that at an early age. And I really cared about sports. So I went to Clemson with a very limited view. I was majoring in biological sciences, went through some traumatic experiences myself in life and realized I wanted to be on the farm. And I love the farm. I didn't really love the family aspect of it. And so I started coaching high school basketball, and I thought that was a path. And I stumbled into psychology and really pursued a path of helping other people, furthering my education, and working for myself. And so when I went to do my doctorate at Clemson, I came back at UK, Kentucky, I came back to Clemson and started working with the athletic department in 2005 on 1 day a week, at the same time creating my practice. And I will say, I've been blessed in the work I've been able to do, but it's very important. We didn't talk about this as much, but I've written 3 vision statements in my life of what I wanted to be and who I wanted to be and what I wanted to try to accomplish. And I think that's important for you today to kind of write that vision. It says in Proverbs, where there is no vision, the people will perish. And then get so busy doing the work that success will find you. And so I've served as a sports psychologist at Clemson since 2005. And we recently sold our clinical practice that I started in Greenville, recently exited out of that business. And so now there's just 4 sports psychologists, PhD, here with this AMPLOS, really invested a very holistic focus in peak performance. And Jeremy said, we got 6 minutes, hurry up. Is there a great leadership course? I need to figure that out. We can sit that. And I got a old classmate from Wilson Hall. So if there's not any other questions, I really appreciate your time and effort. Thank you guys for, as I said, for taking this moment away from what you're experiencing, for investing in your growth and development. Give yourself permission, again, to be human, experience the pain, but also give yourself permission to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Milt. I wish you could hear all the clapping right now, because I'm sure it's going on out there. So I hope that you'll accept my sincere appreciation and willingness to do this in this fashion. It's just been great.
Yes,
so thank you again.
My pleasure. Thank you.